Tracy and
Hey guys, it's Conor.
Conor and Tracy over here at Big Red SEO. We hope you're doing fantastic this Friday.
There we go.
We're having a little bit of a cuddle session a few seconds ago because we're trying to get technology going, and you know, some days it just doesn't go the way that you want or how you have it planned, but we're rolling with it, and we're going to see how it goes because we've got some really great news and updates to share with you regarding just SEO in general, as well as other marketing tips and some business information. I've had a lot of questions this week, so I'm super excited to cover my agenda.
Can we adjust the camera?
Can we adjust?
A ton of space right
Yeah, go ahead. You could do whatever you need to do. If it goes blurry,
yeah,
that just means we're doing something else in the background.
So let's see what happens. How about that?
Yeah, cool.
We'll try again.
One more time. There you go. So it's more of us.
All right, guys.
You get
There you
more
go.
of us, right? So to start, how was your week?
It's been a busy week, but it's been a good week.
Yeah, like busy good, or what's your definition of busy?
So it's been a busy, for me, it's been a busy coding week.
Ooh.
So I've been coding and learning new things and getting WooCommerce to do things that it probably,
out of the package is probably not supposed to do.
Yeah, it probably says in fine print not to be used for XYZ.
Yeah.
And I'm customizing, modifying it to make it do the stuff that I need.
Yeah.
But it's easier to use that system than something completely different. So.
How does it feel? Because I get this question a lot from different friends as well as business people that we associate with. How does it feel for you to do multiple different things, tasks? I mean, one day you're in coding, the next day you're in, or the same day you're into research, and then prospecting and keeping your wife like from, I have these big, awesome, big ideas, and then it comes down to breaking them up into actual action items and getting them done.
Sure.
As well as like managing our CRM and our project management software. So
that was a challenge this week.
Yeah. So
yeah.
How does that feel? Like what like overall?
So there's good and bad. So one of the things that I like about what I do is I'm doing multiple different things.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic changing the oil on every car.
A prime example is your previous life. You were in web hosting.
Yeah.
So is everything web hosting? Even though a different day would have different situations, and you kind of you fell in love with the solution of the big problem is how to fix those. You were still in web hosting versus
Sure.
This is multiple services and tasks.
So the web hosting end of things was a lot easier in that the machines themselves stay running.
Yeah.
And then there's problems that come up. People that try to do code a specific way, or their emails get hacked, and we got to troubleshoot that and figure that out. So there were always task-based items, whereas what we're doing now is all project-based items. So we're given, this is the grand scheme of everything it is that I want to do, and get me to that point. And all the stuff that happens in between doesn't matter. So that's different. I wouldn't say one is better than the other.
Right.
But me, I'm a very task-oriented person.
Yeah.
So when a ticket comes in, the newest ticket or the oldest ticket gets my attention first.
Right.
So,
or the caveat is the one that screams the loudest, because we do have that rule as well.
From the web hosting world is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So not necessarily the one that screams the loudest in there, because our system was set up that if you continue to reply, you continue to go to the oldest. You became the newest on the list. You never got to the point of actually getting
because you
done.
typically would probably respond to say, hey, we'll be right back with you, we're trying to work on a solution, and if you keep getting people. Okay, I got that. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that was kind of how that worked. But the only caveat in there was that if it was a critical item, so if it was a server offline, or it's going to affect a lot more people than just that one person, then of course that gets our attention. But with the projects and with web design stuff and with SEO, it's a task list of things that have to get done, but less troubleshooting end of things.
Right. Well, and you still do get into a world of troubleshooting, right? So like we can have a company come to us and a different designer develop something, and something's kind of wacky, and we even have other designers come and contract us for stuff that they can't figure out, right?
Sure.
So it's not that we're opposed to any of that specifically. The thing that I love is, one, there is literally no day that's ever the same. with
Yeah.
us in our journey. Like I can honestly say that, even though we time block and we theme days, no Monday is ever the same as any other Monday. And I remember being in corporate America, you would walk in and Monday was just Monday and Tuesday was Tuesday. And by Tuesday, you were hoping that Friday would come. And personally for me, I sit in a seat of I'm doing multiple different things, keeping everything organized and bringing in more opportunities, right, to fill the pipeline. That what I find is by the time Friday's here, I actually wish it was Wednesday because I'm like still trying to organize and get stuff out.
And as a small business owner, once Friday comes around and you're like, oh, I've got to get all this stuff done because next week is coming up. Well, next week is still going to come up. You know, so it doesn't mean that everything has to get done this week. It'll still be there tomorrow. Now, if there are fires that you got to put out, you got to put them out. But.
Well, and I think also the reason why I brought this up, right, is because a lot of the people that are following us either have their own businesses, right? They're entrepreneurs, business owners, they're freelancers that are trying to make it, not trying, they're in the process of working full time into their own business, right? We do have some people that follow us that are from companies specifically, but I think the reason why I brought it up is I think any job in any position, you're going to wear multiple hats, right? You're going to have multiple things that need to get done. And it's a matter of, instead of like gritting it and being like, oh, I have all this stuff to do, I'm super overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, trying to figure out a way to make it fun, make the process fun. I'm a fun person. You're not really necessarily. But the thing that
I'm
makes...
not a fun person.
Right. But the thing that makes Conor fun in your own version is if there's order in the process, in the system, if it makes sense, if everything's organized and everything's in a system, you can do A, B, and C. You can see what's due, when is it due, and how is it due, what work needs to be done, right? And that kind of trips his trigger because then he can start to task off and get things done, and he starts to see progress, if that makes sense, even with the multiple different tasks to do and so forth. I've heard a lot from small business owners specifically that they're in this place that they're getting very overwhelmed, right? And it's one of those things. I've personally been there. I can't speak for you to know if you've been overwhelmed in our journey, in our job, and what we're doing, right? So I'll speak from my area of the fastest way that I kind of like diffuse being overwhelmed is to figure out what are the top 3 things that are critical that have to be done, not even need to be done. What are the top 3 things that are critical that need to be done? Some places refer to it as big frogs, or there's different terminology, right? But then I just take a moment to realize it doesn't all have to be done today, right? Because even if I had superpowers to just do anything and everything, there's a chance that more stuff's going to come in. But if you get into that place of overwhelm, and if you're in sales roles specifically, if I'm in a sales role and I'm sitting in that seat and I get overwhelmed and I don't shift or transform that pretty quickly, the phones will actually stop ringing and emails stop coming in, right? Because I'm literally like shutting myself down. And this kind of goes into energetics and just your persona in general. But if you get to that point where you're so overwhelmed that you don't know what to do and how to do it and start to take movement, even any movement at that point is a good movement, then you could actually hurt your business versus help your business. So it's kind of an ironic way to start, but I wanted to start because I've been having a lot of conversations with small businesses specifically on, hey, we have all these tasks, we're trying to do all this stuff. How do we prevent overwhelmness, or how do we bust through it? As you grow and as you grow your business, different people have scenarios of outsource this and delegate this, or use this system or this process. I personally think everybody has to figure that out themselves, right? I think you got to figure out what do you love to do? What are you really, really good at? What's something that you don't want to deal with at all, right? And kind of just start from there. So, yeah.
More or less the same deal. Definitely what do you outsource or what do you keep? What do you do? I had an email earlier. The conversation was a number of different tasks that were going on. One of them happened to be for video editing. And while I can play around in Adobe Premiere and I can make something,
you get really excited about that stuff.
Well, the thing is, it's a challenge, it's a task, it's something to do, and that's an area that I can play and learn and figure something out. But to be able to then sell that as a service, or to produce a quality enough that somebody would want to pay for it, I mean, that's a different thing
You know,
altogether.
yeah,
So,
and that's the thing is like sometimes like for
it's
me,
good enough for me though.
yeah,
It's good enough for this channel, right?
for me specifically, what I find is there's stuff that I'm really, really good at, that I'm just naturally good at, that people be like, hey, can you do A, B, and C? And I can easily say yes because I'm naturally good at it. But if it's my thing and I like it for me, I'm more likely going to decline it for somebody else because I have a passion and I want to do it for myself. And if I start to bundle it and sell it as a service, then at that point it may not be fun anymore.
Well, yeah,
I think that's kind of what you're getting
exactly.
to.
Yeah, you take that hobby and you turn it into a business, and now you're having to work to do it rather than enjoying whatever it was you were doing.
And there's some magic of taking a hobby and transforming it into a business.
Oh, sure.
But I think the point that we're trying to make is like sometimes you have to figure out what is within your lane and stay within your lane. What are you really, really good at? What do you want to do? And just because somebody comes and asks you, hey, could you do A, B, and C, and you have the skill to do it, it may not be the best way for you to go in taking on that business. And again, you guys are going to have to decide, right? The ones that are tuning in, does this work for me? Does it not work for me? I personally would rather hear somebody say, hey, I haven't done this in 20 years. I'm good at it. I do it as a side hobby. I think you should go find somebody else that does it full time. I personally would appreciate hearing that versus having somebody just take something on that's a hobby and then them finding out that they don't want to do it full time anymore.
It's the fear of saying no or the fear of rejection. You know, people take on work because they don't want to disappoint the other person or they're trying to get involved with that particular field. And that's always a good thing too. But the problem is that if I'm paying somebody for quality work, I need quality results.
Right.
Anyway, going back to the email that I had with regards to the video editing stuff, it's not something I do. So if there's somebody on here watching that does do video editing, enjoys doing it, wants to do it for money, and can produce quality that I can actually say, here you go, I recommend this person.
Conor stamp of a person.
That endorsement is a huge thing for me.
We have a lot of people come to us for video, actually.
Yeah. And it's just something, like I said, it's something I can play with, but playing and working are two completely different things. So, so from that end, there you go.
So really quickly, let's go ahead and dive in because I don't know if people on our business page knew this or not, but we put little blurbs on our personal page as well. And I challenged Conor to do a short little video where he did his whole bullet points. He has a list again, guys. So if you followed us before, you know how excited I get.
Sure.
And I think he's really super sexy when he makes lists because he rarely ever does, right? But you have some really good updates for business owners and marketing people in general. So let's dive into the good tasks that you have. So I think you started with AdWords, which used to be formerly known as Google AdWords, but now it's Google Ads. Yeah.
So instead of going down that road, I'd want to go down, let's talk about the Facebook versus Google and the
F versus G.
Yeah, it's basically for the local search end of things or the local businesses. So one of the things, so Google, here we go again. See, I do this every time. I get so excited about something and I just trip over all my words.
Just take a breath.
Facebook released a number of different updates in the last 2 weeks or so. One of the updates that they've done now is the ability to do ads. So you could actually make your Facebook ad, and when somebody clicks on it, it'll go right into a Facebook Messenger.
Oh,
so instead of going to a web page, it automatically opens up a chat with the business. Now, pro tip, if you're doing that, make sure you answer your damn chat. Don't just let it be there. And, you know, people will get annoyed. If you're clicking in for live help and the button says the person is online and they're live, you better be live as a business. Now, as personal stuff, you know, that's personal.
Right.
But if you're doing a business role, it better be live.
Right.
You know, I can't tell you the amount of hate I have.
Can I possibly add something? If you are in business chat and you are live, stay professional.
Yep.
Like just if you have to create scripts, I don't know what you need to do, but just stay professional because if people chat with you, they're still looking to connect to make a transaction. So you have to step forward and stay professional in whatever way you can. Sometimes we see people, they're really professional when they sit behind their desk and they're in front of a computer, but if they're on their phone, they're more reactive, less professional. So that's where my tip comes from. Anyway.
And feel free to use emojis and all that kind of stuff. A smiley face, a winky face,
A
whatever.
love heart.
Well, no, let's not do that.
Let's
business.
do love hearts, guys. No. Love hearts. Come on, love heart you.
No.
Aww.
So anyway,
You're so serious.
some of the other updates that happen in Facebook, and again, I've got my list of stuff.
Yeah.
Facebook has gotten in, of course, into the dating world.
Oh, goodness.
So they released a whole dating side of things and whatnot. So they're still in beta with some of that. Some of that will be coming out. So be sure to get into there.
I wonder how that's going to affect your profile. Like, do people need to stay private versus local? Not,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't played with it enough to find out.
Hey, Ashley.
One of the other things that they've done, though, they're fighting against Indeed, LinkedIn, all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you can now do job applications. Mm-hmm. You could now do she said, what? You're probably talking and she couldn't hear you because you said it really quiet.
Or maybe she caught the end of what you were saying.
Maybe, which means you got to go back and watch the whole thing.
Oh, gosh.
Kidding. But basically you could do the job applications and you could now do job listings. So they've moved away from just being the social thing. Yeah. They've improved the events management, so you could now have better listings for events. Yeah, and that's probably showing up in your feed more.
I know one-time events. Then they just recently in last January did recurring events. So if you knew that you were going to have an event monthly, you don't have to keep creating the same event. So if you have 290 people following you for that event, if it's a recurring event, all of them still get that next session. So that's kind of nice too.
Yep. And they've updated their mobile app. So Facebook mobile app has now been drastically changed. Now, as a business owner, you can now allow people to book an appointment. So if you're a hairdresser, you can now book directly through Facebook. Right. You can order pizza through Facebook.
Yes. And a really quick a recap from a couple of videos prior that we had was Facebook also lets you create groups and charge a fee now too for businesses. That was not a thing before.
Yeah, Facebook is starting the whole private group that you could now have.
Like a mastermind group or some kind of group.
Yeah, you can start a group. Facebook will handle the payments.
Yeah.
So the members of the group would pay Facebook.
Right.
Facebook then distributes the funds to you.
Right.
So it's an awesome way of being able to build up that following and build up that group. YouTube is doing something very similar. So they're actually doing private paid areas of YouTube videos where YouTube will collect the money or Google collects it and then redistributes it back out
to you. I can only
imagine
imagine how much money they make interest-wise on that. I'm just saying, like, all of a sudden everybody's becoming a merchant. You go to the store and they ask, do you want cash back? I'm like, oh gosh, like everybody's like making money everywhere on this. It's crazy.
So all of those are on there. There's also a new button on there for recommendation. So now it's got a sentence saying, would you recommend this company?
Yes.
And you click yes, and then it automatically goes out to your feed.
It's interesting because whenever you're doing all that, a lot of the articles that I was reading this week about social media specifically it's all about brand reputation. So it almost feels like Facebook specifically, I think all social media, but we'll talk about Facebook specifically, it's turning more into a brand recognition. Like, how do you keep your brand clean specifically? How do you stay transparent? How do you communicate back and forth? And so a lot of this stuff's kind of being born in the fact of being able to be dropped in and immediately communicate, would you recommend this company, yes or no? And I don't know yet if that's anonymous or not anonymous.
It's not.
So that's the other thing too.
If you would recommend the company, it actually goes into your feed and goes onto the company feed.
But if you don't, then it just disappears and drops off.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about.
So that part I don't know about.
Now, what I do know is whenever I was experimenting this week with businesses specifically on Facebook, I would actually go in and view new businesses. And I wasn't dropped into the chat, but what happened was when the Facebook business page actually loaded, all of a sudden their chat window opened immediately as well, right? And there was like predetermined questions that they could customize themselves for their business to answer, like how much is your services, what's the turnaround time. There's multiple different customizations that can happen. Again, it's kind of cool watching it all happen and being like, how are they helping businesses specifically be able to help their prospects and clients quickly and fast?
And if you do that, if you do those messengers on side of the businesses, you can add in what's called a chat bot. So a chat bot detects certain words and then does a response. And one of the big things that have been happening on Facebook is it'll have a thing that'll be down the thing in the
a thing that'll be down in the thing. He's taking it after me now. So years he'd be like, stop calling it that. The thing out of the thing out of the thing.
So in the chat box, it'll say, or me on a video, I'll say, please comment down here if you like this. Just say now. And then when you type in the word now, you're automatically added to a newsletter or a news feed.
Right.
And then from there, that then builds up their subscriber list.
Correct.
And then no matter what you do, so the way Facebook has it set up is that when you give a response and the message says, do you wish to subscribe to the newsletter, yes or no?
Right.
And the people set up the chatbot that either answer automatically put you on the newsletter, and then you're kind of stuck in it. So there's a couple different things on there.
Cool.
Ashley had asked, does Facebook charge a fee with regards to the groups and the membership profiles? Patreon, very familiar with Patreon. I follow way too many people on Patreon. They do have a fee on there, of course. Facebook does have a fee. There are some groups that Facebook does not have a fee. So there are some charity organization stuff. If you can submit your 501(c)(3), if you can submit that information, then there is no charge on that. Right. But from what I've seen, at least from what I've tested, all of the groups so far have a paid fee.
Well, and not just groups too. In Facebook specifically, you can actually buy services as well, right? So you could buy services directly. You could put it like kind of like a mini shopping cart inside your businesses.
Isn't there an option for send money or something like that?
Yeah, you can send money as well. So there is like some back processes. We're not familiar with all of that. We wanted to highlight the groups specifically, as well as Facebook and Google kind of going head to head and being like, what are we providing and how are we providing it? It's interesting to see how it's all going to transform, especially being, I think they're stepping forward and helping the end user as much as possible to be able to gain information. Now, one thing that has drove me crazy this last week, and I don't know if this is like a habit, sometimes I see people start something and I think that they like popped on a webcast and got some tips or tried something new, but people are actually like putting posts and text in something and they're saying, go to our About tab to get the link to purchase, or go to our About tab to get the link to go to A, B, and C. I don't understand why people are doing that. I think like whenever people are on their computer, put the link inside of whatever the status is that you're putting. I think like making people manually like say that they're looking at your status and making them go find your About tab in your business profile and then clicking another link that goes to another website. Like that just goes against the 3-click rule, what we would have in a website in general. But social media, the key is to make it so easy for the end users that like if they read a post that resonates with them, they click in, they contact you, right? Again, like this over this last week, I've seen multiple people doing this. So I feel like it might be a trend where somebody did something in a training and said this, and I don't know if it's necessarily successful for them. I just all of a sudden notice people are doing it. So
split test. We talked about the trending stuff, and if people are using certain phrases and certain trends, then even though you're against what that is, vehemently against what it is, because everybody else is doing it, you may have to do it.
And the other thing too is like every post doesn't have to have a link, right? You don't have to drop somebody into your website every single time, but be sure from an SEO perspective, be sure that if you have content on your website, especially blog articles, that you cross-share those into your social media. It actually pushes people back to your website. But then also the second area is if you want people to contact you, put your phone number in the status. Don't be afraid to put a call to action of have any questions, call today, or whatever your customized message is. I see people all the time like leave their contact information off of a status post. They say, hire me, hire me, hire me. And then there's no area of how do they contact you? Now, granted, I realize they can go into your business page, into the About section and find the stuff for you. But I think at the end of the day, you just got to figure out how do you make it easy for you as well as your end users, right?
So Ashley had asked about third-party apps and if the chatbot is part of a questionnaire and the third parties, if there's a service for it. I'm sure there are services. What I've seen from it, it's actually just code that you put directly inside of your business area, and that then takes care of everything for you. It's kind of like those automated replies. So everything that gets put in there automatically goes somewhere.
Those, like, make me miss
that then gets you added to
I had that happen today. I wanted to know about a specific thing, if a service was included so I can transaction purchase. And then I put in my question, and then it said, so-and-so will be back with you within 24 hours. And I was like, it showed that they were live, like ready to answer my questions then, and they were not. I was, anyway, cut cords. Anyway, okay, what else do you have on your list here?
So that was one big thing. So that's going on.
Yeah.
Google, of course, is stepping up their game, and they're modifying a few different things.
Sure.
So we'll have more on that as to what they're going to do next week.
Cool.
I won't have a whole lot of information on that right now, but a couple of things did happen. Let's see. The Messenger already covered. The Google Assistant, yeah, that was one.
I was laughing because he's picking which one he wants to do instead of going into a long line.
I didn't have a pen, so now I got to.
He's like, which one is the best one out of these four? That's the way his brain works.
Well, it's which one flows into the next one.
Okay.
So the Google Assistant. So kind of. Oh, here we go. Something just beat. Anyway. But anyway, it can now read the news to you. So before, it would read the headline, maybe a short snippet.
Yeah.
But now it'll actually read the entire thing to you.
Interesting.
You have to be a verified publisher.
Okay.
So there's a couple of steps you got to go through. You have to be a news site. Like for us, we do the SEO. We give SEO news and updates. So we could technically qualify as a news provider in the guidelines of Google. However, because we don't focus on it a lot, we probably should not apply for it. Yeah. Now, we could get approved, but we should not be approved. No. So anyway, so that's all in there. But where this kind of ties into is that there was also some updates regarding schema. And schema is the markup or code markup on the back end of the website. So XML files, JSON files, things like that that are going to help the search engine understand what is on the page.
Right.
So there was a new schema released 2 weeks ago, maybe, that dealt with the voice or the talking end of things.
Okay.
So you could now highlight sections within your website that Google Assistant will now speak aloud.
Okay.
So because of all that's gone in there, that was all in preparation for the publisher end of things.
Yeah.
But my guess is that in the next couple of months, that'll now be active on pretty much every website. And you could just say, hey, Google, what is Big Red SEO all about? And
now Google's going to give them a rundown.
My phone has already given me
SEO.
the answer. Look, I got the phone number and everything for us. Anyways, so being able to do your markup in the code, and that's going to help Google understand what's happening.
Right.
So it's going to help from SEO,
yeah,
but it's really going to help the Google Assistants and the voice end of things.
Right.
Alexa, I touched on this last week.
Yeah.
The Alexa app or program or software.
I think it's a device.
Device. There you go. That they've now tied in that they're able to do better directory lookups and things like that.
Right, yeah.
So we've been working on that with a handful of our clients with regards to getting found in directories. But those guys, the Google Voice and there's another, the Cortana then from Microsoft. So all of those are going to start getting into this XML and start reading information within the websites. So that's something to play with for the future. It's
going to be interesting on how voice changes and transforms a lot of different stuff. So really good updates to have.
There's lots of things about the voice saying that it's being used a lot more. And then there was a study I read today that said 80% of everybody doesn't care about the response from the voice. I think
that there's going to be those people that like are tech edgy that love to try the new things, and I think there's a lot of people, at least in our circles, that are trying it and using it. Whether they're still doing it now that it's live and active, I have no idea.
Right.
That I don't know. But I do feel like it's very interesting on how it's going to change the end user's perspective and how you go about doing different tasks and situations. And just being smart. So if you don't mind, I'm going to interject here real quick. Since we are in August and school has started or is starting here very soon, Labor Day weekend is going to be right around the corner. So with your Google My Business, it is really important to make sure that you put your holiday hours, update your holiday hours for the Labor Day weekend if you're actually going to be taking off. We recommend that you actually put all of the holidays in your calendar to remind yourself to update those because they they do give you a little bit of a bonus point with the search engines, Google specifically, because they're like, hey, it's a business that wants to make sure that their clients and their prospects know that the business is closed, so they won't show up on Labor Day. Granted, most people would probably be closed on Labor Day, but still, it's nice to be able to update those records as well as add different promotions, coupons, and stuff like that within the Google My Business.
Yeah, and updating those on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Actually, it asked what programming language allows the electronics to talk to each other. Can Cortana read from Alexa and things like that? That is somebody else's job to answer, unfortunately. I know each one of the devices have proprietary information within their things. Whether one can talk to another, I have no idea.
Right.
I have my assistant on my phone, and I do have one of the home devices that is actually in a box still, because I'm not sure I actually trust it. But beyond that, I stay out of the voice world for the most part. It's very handy to get directions to my chiropractor or directions to Jimmy John's or Pepper Jack's, or there's the food I like. So
right.
So it's handy for that. That's really all I know on there. So what else do you have on your list?
So one of the questions that I had today, ironically, I was doing a small mini strategy with a client here locally, and they were asking how could they get more of their clients to review them online, right? So they've sent out the newsletter, they've communicated, and they've asked on social media, yet they're still not getting people to actually take the action for online reviews. So a couple different areas and edges that we recommend for this. Different people are going to have different ways, but here's what I can tell you at the end of the day. You need to make sure that you add asking for a referral or asking for a review into your sales process. So what I mean by that is, say you have somebody contact you and they purchase a service or they purchase a product, and you have actually delivered that service and that product, and you know that they're happy. Maybe they respond and say, hey, great job, thanks so much. Within a certain time frame, you need to go back and ask them for the review if they were happy with your services. It's part of a sales process that I think what happens is businesses either don't realize they need reviews or they just kind of forget about it, if that makes sense. And so it's critical to build this in so you constantly can get a flow of reviews coming in consistently, so it doesn't feel so heavy in asking 300 customers to give you reviews and you're wondering why nobody's responding back. Right? So that's key number one, is making sure that you build it into your sales process. Two, don't be afraid to follow up in 30 to 60 days if they did not review it. So here's what I see. I see businesses either A, not ask for reviews, or B, if they ask for reviews and they don't get any action from it, then they just leave it go and let it be. Well, the reality is a lot of times your customers are probably going to be super busy people. So they may have actually read your email and be like, oh yeah, I'll do that on Saturday morning. And then Saturday morning comes around and they get busy and they forget. So don't be afraid to give them the little pokes to be like, hey, just a quick reminder, let me know if you have any questions about these online reviews or how to do this. When you ask for the review, whether it's part of your sales process or in general, make sure you put the links directly into where you're wanting them to review. Don't require them to do all three. Some of the language we say is, hey, you can leave a review at any of these, or if you feel like you're in the mood for it, you can leave it on all of these, right? And we give typically a list of 3 different review areas with the links so they drop right into it, right? If they opt not to leave a review at that point, I would just let it be. You can still ask online and social media for reviews specifically. You can ask via emails. You can pick up the phone and call and check up on them and ask for a review at that time as well. But what I'm seeing is a lot of times businesses wait until after everything's over and there's a huge time frame within it to ask for the review, and then all of a sudden there's a disconnect. People may not resonate with it really well. At some point when somebody's like, oh man, your product and your service has impacted my life like no other, that's the perfect time to ask for a review. So there's a thing that I refer to as emotional based asking. So say that you sell a service that's going to change somebody's life, or maybe you've been able to increase somebody's profit by 50% based on the service that you delivered, right? You can find a way to communicate it when they come back to you, say, hey, I increased my sales by 50% based on the service you delivered. You're a rock star. That is so cool. Sometimes what we do is we come back and we say, hey, look, I've got a quick favor. there's only so much time in every day that we can actually do A, B, and C. And we're trying to make sure that we can step forward and help as many businesses as we can. Is there any way that you could take 5 minutes and give us an online review so other people know that we've been able to impact your business, as well as they can see how we can help them? What happens is all of a sudden you tap into their emotional side of it, of one, they feel good because they got a win. Two, they experience return of investment on a service that they purchased. And three, we're actually asking them to do us a favor by giving us an online review. So this can be applied to any business in any industry. But what I'm saying is, don't wait until the last area to ask. But even if you do ask at the last area, don't just blast it and wait for people to take action, right?
And don't make it generic.
Yeah. So the thing is at the end of the day, people, no matter what service it is, they don't want to feel like a number, right? So maybe you send a personalized email and a note. Granted, it will take extra time, right, to hand deliver those. You don't want it to be scripted. Maybe you reference their dog or their children or the summer camp that they went to or something to that extent, but find a way to make it like a personal situation. So here's the other thing about reviews. I see a lot of people that wind up doing webinars, or they come across our blogs or other people's blogs that say reviews are so important for SEO, go get them. So then what happens is they tackle acquiring online reviews all within like a 2-week time frame, right? They get all of these reviews and then nothing happens. Our recommendation is spread it out. Maybe you reach out to 5 contacts a week to get online reviews, or 3 or 4 or 50, depending on the amount of clientele you have.
What the response rates are.
Right? But reach out to so many people within a process, and then make it a consistent habit of a process, right? So that way when the search engines come to you and then they look at, hey, they've gotten 3 reviews consistently for 6 weeks, they must be doing something really, really good, right? So there's like a little bit of a organization within it, but then it'll stop you feeling like you're carrying the world with having to reach out and ask for reviews on top of the other stuff.
Yeah, and there was I think I touched on it in a previous video, but I'll provide a link down below with regards to one of the reports that I had read. It talked about the value of reviews, right, and that the weight of a review is drastically reduced after 90 days.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're getting reviews
focused
and you haven't gotten anything in recent times,
yeah,
the value of everything else, while they were all 5 stars, has pretty much diminished.
And here's the other thing too, guys. You don't have to always give away something free for a review, right? It's actually in the Google terms service, it's frowned upon. Like, you should not be bribing somebody to get a review for something.
You say frowned
back.
upon. It actually says in violation.
Yeah. So the thing is like you in the real world, if you delivered a great service, you shouldn't have to give something else for free for that person to leave a review. But at the end of the day, the reality is, people can choose to leave a review or not leave a review. It's their time, right? So like, if somebody's non-responsive, don't like get a hard chip on your shoulder and be like, oh, those evil people. Instead, just kind of move on and find the people that really would leave you a genuine online review. If you want to take it a little bit of a step further, say that they did put a review online, reach out to them and thank them. Maybe write a handwritten note. Thank them for actually taking the time to do an online review for you. And then at that point, you can actually capture that review and use it on all different marketing materials, right? So like, that's the other part too. But if you can find a way to add the asking for review into your sales process, do not ask for the review before the product or service is delivered and completed. And then also, so it's not so awkward, like the kind of the first date awkwardness, make sure that you actually wait until like after the product's delivered and then the timing seems right, or it's part of your process, right?
And even with that, you know, we were talking with a deck builder, and we were working through their process with regards to reviews and things like that. For them, the best time for them was within 1 week of finishing the deck was to get the review. What they've actually been able to do now is that they will provide the information they have on their invoice. They have all the links, the QR codes, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But one of the things they ask for is when you do your deck christening or your celebration or whatever, they ask you to take a picture and send it to them, and they then use it on their social media. So you had talked about 30, 60 days following up with people. You know, even from that, I would drop that down to within 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it depends on the business, and it depends on how often and how frequent you are in contact with them, right? So like you have to determine what your time frame is. Personally, for me, if I purchased a service and then you reached out to me within a week to say, hey, could you review this? Yeah, that's cool. If I get super busy, I might be down 3 to 4 weeks into something else before I come back. So everybody has to figure out what your own time frame is, and also the language that you use to follow up with it. Just try to keep it super upbeat. Again, just asking and letting people know that you're trying to help more people, and that the online review actually does a benefit for that. Yep. The last thing that I'll say as a caveat for online reviews that is kind of like a deep pet peeve for me. One, don't ask your friends and family to review you if they have not experienced your services. It's just, I realize that it happens because people are like, oh, I need reviews, I need 12 reviews, and then they have people review them. People can actually feel that. They can feel if it's genuine or it's not genuine, right? The second thing is, do not create fake accounts and review yourself. It has never, ever turned out into a good situation from what we've experienced. And, you know, search engines are really smart. And then so they catch up on that stuff, and then they'll find it, they'll catch it, and it's never pretty the way that it lays out once they find it. So, like, just genuinely asking for reviews into your sales process, and then make sure you return the favor. So if you are actually doing purchasing a service or a product for someone else, leave them a review, right? So it's all about give and take, win-win, helping people. So just like try those tips and see what happens. Yep. But yeah, so it's one of those questions that came up today, and I was like, ooh, perfect timing, because we've been talking about reviews. So what else you got on your list?
So the other big thing on my list, of course, is Google Ads, or Google AdWords as it used to be known. It's kind of like the artist named Prince, but not real now.
It's like a symbol. Yeah.
Anyways, so
I listened to some Prince today. Anyway.
Well, there you go. You were probably the only person in the world that did.
Oh, no, it's on the radio. Stop. Okay, Google Ads.
Anyways, Google Ads. So a couple of big updates have happened on Google Ads. There is now the ability, as of basically 5 hours ago, there is now the ability to add in a third headline.
Oh, interesting.
So it used to be that
they were
you'd have
testing
two.
that for a while.
Yep, you had the one for a long time, then you had two with the dash between it. Now there's the ability for a third.
Interesting.
The descriptions can also be lengthened. So now the descriptions will be up to 90 characters, and that's an increase over 70.
Yeah.
So if you're still doing your ads, you'll need to go back in and modify that out.
Right.
One of the things that went on 2 weeks ago, or the end of last month, really, there was some beta testing that happened from Google with different advertisers, and it allowed them to do what's called responsive ads.
Yeah.
And from that, you could submit, let's say, 14, it was either 14 or 15 headlines that you could submit onto Google, provide them different descriptions, and then they would do the split test or the A/B test for you.
Right.
So instead of creating that one ad and then creating variations of it, you now just had one ad. Right. Everything was in there. Google gets to figure it all out for you. They give you the results as to what one performed better than another one. Yeah. And now you make that your permanent ad. So that is rolling out. It will be out for everybody starting in September. Right. It was in beta last month. They've increased the audience this month. Yeah. And then next month, everybody will have access to that. So if you're doing Google Ads, there's now a third headline that you're going to need more text for, and more content on your description. Yeah. And then you'll have the access to responsive ads. And that's going to change. That's interesting. It's going to be, that's a lot of changes all in once. And it'll be interesting in the next 3 to 4 weeks how that all shakes out. Yeah. And if you're testing Google Ads in that, let us know how that turns out for you. Because that seems like it's going to make a lot of jobs a lot easier, especially the A/B testing specifically. But then also the length of the description, because sometimes it can be pretty challenging to explain what you do in 70 characters. We were doing do that earlier this week. We were doing titles for a website, and the length of a title has to be a maximum of 55 characters. Yeah. And trying to get what the message was across within 55 characters, that can be a challenge. You're talking 8 words to get something across. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Everybody should be doing their titles and descriptions nonetheless, but the same thing with the Google Ads. Getting an extra 10 characters can mean a huge difference. In this case, it's 20 characters.
Right.
So Google Ads have been updated. Go make your modifications and get on the thing for that.
Cool.
One other thing that I wanted to chat on before you jump in again.
Right.
Google Alerts. So years ago, there was always the alert feeds and stuff like that. It has come back on Google, so you can do Google Alerts.
I love Google Alerts.
And what you basically do, you enter in a keyword or a phrase that you want to follow, and anytime that's found anywhere on the web, you'll get an email. You can either get it every day.
Like sparkly unicorn.
Yeah. So you can get an email every
I'm just
day,
saying, like,
or at the end
sometimes
of
I
the
have
month.
some weird ones.
At the end of the week, you can get like a list of here's where that word has been found. So it's awesome when it comes to branding or brand recognition.
Right.
Finding somebody who mentions your brand somewhere,
Yeah.
and then you're able to request them.
That's saved a lot of people in the past.
Yeah, either they mentioned your brand wrongly, so you can get that corrected, or you can request a link from them so that they link back to your website.
That's a good tip.
And that's going to help boost your SEO.
Yeah.
So the Google Alerts, just go onto google.com, search for Google Alerts, and I believe it's google.com/alerts. But put in your keywords or put in your key phrase that you want to go after.
Also put in your first and last name.
Yep, put in your name. So
sometimes
if you're doing,
your location, depending.
Yeah, if you're doing brand reputation or brand management to make sure what's going on.
I think even if you're not doing brand management, still even doing it just in case. You just never, like, I have seen some stuff happen out there. So just put your name in there no matter what. Put your company in there no matter what.
Yep.
I would even put your address in there no matter what, just in case. And then worst case, you get it and then you decide what action to take from there. Sometimes you won't get anything at all. Like, people just won't talk to you.
So there will be a blog article on the steps on how to do everything. I'm working on that here this weekend, so that'll be out next week on our website. But basically, the 5 things that you're going to be doing with the Google Alert is you'll enter the phrase, you'll check your emails, see what other people are doing. So that's one thing, is that if you're watching other brands or watching other things like that, see what they're doing so that you can either copy it or mimic something similar.
Right.
But it's great if you're looking for answering a questions. Again, how do I use a hammer?
Right. That was a good one.
How do I use a hammer? You can find out who else is asking that question.
Still hilarious.
So that
I feel like that's going to come up on a t-shirt for you.
I think so.
One day I Googled how to use a hammer, something like that. Cool. Well,
and I learned I was doing it wrong.
That's some good information.
And then basically with all of that, write your articles, get all that stuff out.
Yeah.
So it's going to help from an SEO perspective, but it's going to answer the questions for the people.
Right.
And that's really where those alerts is the most powerful.
Yeah.
You can use it for watching airline deals, or in my case, I use it for watching where steam trains are going to be at. So you could
especially recently.
Yeah. So you could do all of that kind of stuff. It from an SEO perspective, it's invaluable. Google took it away for a while. It is back.
Yep. Cool.
Use it. So that's what I've got on my list for the most part.
Rock on.
Yeah, I think that's everything on my list.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. So one last thing that I actually got asked was, how can you comfortably cross-share your business and your services on your personal page when you also have a business page? So here's the scenario with all of this stuff. You've got to realize that your personal audience is might be a tad bit different than your business audience on your Facebook page, right? But there's still a way to be able to cross-promote, where the specific person that asked me this was, how do I make it non-salesy and how do I not make it gross, right? So like automatically with the gross part, this person specifically is very turned off when they see other businesses and other people sharing their business and they're so salesy, right? So if you see something that you don't like, a technique you don't like, make sure you don't repeat that, right? But if you see something that you do like, or somebody is doing something really well and you're like, oh, that's it, make sure you follow them and see how can you turn that into your own style. This person specifically wanted to stay very authentic, right? That's important to them in their core. So I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of figuring out how to be able to story tell and share how you're impacting lives, how you're impacting businesses, how you're serving without getting super cocky and super egotistical, right? You know, there's multiple different ways to go about it. It goes back to, again, the emotional-based advertising and the emotional-based marketing. If you can, like, say that you have a case study or a story or a scenario, you help somebody and it's changed their life massively, I automatically go and say, what are the 3 things that popped out to you about that story, and I have that person write that down. And then all of a sudden I say, cool, what is it that you wish other people knew about that story that impacted those 3 bullet points that you were like, yeah, that's it. That is that's a blueprint frame to start telling the story on social media. It gets a little bit more complicated than that. You'll have to find like whatever your technique is, whatever you're selling. Like Bruce, I see that you're on here, you know, you sell awesome, beautiful furniture for outdoor. It could easily come down to sharing like how you've been able to increase the family quality time of an outdoor setting over dinner in candlelights, right? Like there's multiple different businesses and multiple different stories that you can share where people are like, oh, I want that. Like I've been thinking about updating my furniture for years and I've just never done it. I want to spend more time with my family outdoors. Cool. I'm going to go order some furniture, right? Again, what happens is it becomes less salesy. It becomes less icky, if that makes sense. Again, if you see something on social media that you don't like, make sure you don't like do it back again, or you don't copy it. Like a lot of times people will copy something because they see it so often, even though it feels really gross to them, because they feel like that's the right way to do it. If you check with your gut and you're like, maybe I shouldn't post this, don't post it, right? Find a different way to say it. And don't be afraid to get on live. Don't be afraid to get on video. What I can tell you is that Facebook specifically, the videos are getting more and more popular and more, it's a way for people to connect. So in our world right now, there's a lot of people that are dived into technology and a little bit disconnected. So the video is bringing that connection back where 2 people can actually connect via video. So a couple things to think about. Don't be afraid to tell a story. If you don't know how to do it and don't know where to start, find a content writer or find somebody that can help you articulate what you're trying to say. You know, it's just one of those things that'll help you, 1, stay authentic, but 2, if you're not telling people what you do, especially on your personal page, you're actually not doing a service to your ideal clientele as well as prospects, right? The last thing that I would say is if you opt to share on your personal page about your business, just make sure you don't flood it. Usually the 80-20 rule works really, really well with this. What it means is 80% of the time on your personal page, you're putting personal stuff that is connecting with the majority of your Facebook friends of the stuff you want to share. And maybe 20% is about business. And then you would take that 20% and break it off. Be like, how much are you going to tell stories? How many times are you going to tell people that you actually offer a service? How often are you going to say notifications like a Facebook Live, right? So that way they don't just see you from a business perspective and they don't just see you from a personal perspective.
And then be aware on that if you're sharing something on business and you've posted to your business page, don't automatically hit share onto your personal within 5 minutes. It's already in the feed. So a lot of your friends are going to already be part of that business page. So you don't want to over
We usually say like wait 2 to 4 hours or wait 24 hours because what happens is people get hit double times, and a lot of times they unfortunately will unfriend and unlike your Facebook page. From a business perspective in a personal page, this is one guidance I'm going to get, whether it's wanted or it's not wanted, right? If you are a business owner and you actually own a business and you operate a business page and then you cross-share that business into your personal page, you need to determine, 1, do you even want to do that? Do you want to have those 2 cross-share, cross-post? If you do, you need to make sure that you are articulating.
There you go. That's like a prime example for what was going on.
You want to make sure that you can communicate who you are as a person, but remove the drama and the trauma and all the chaos and all the negative talk and all like if you're using your Facebook and it's not for lifting other people or positive services or something to that extent, your cross sharing for your business could actually backfire. Here's a prime example. Somebody was looking for work. They cross shared their actual personal business. And then all of a sudden they went into this rant about life and it was super negative for like 3 or 4 days. Then they shared their business page again, right? A lot of people are going to associate that person in that business and say, well, I'm not going to do business with that person because their life's in shambles. Are they going to be able to handle my project, not handle my project? Are they going to be able to deliver what I just want to purchase or not deliver what I want to purchase? So just as a general guideline, make sure you try to stay clean on both. I know some Facebook business pages that never cross promote on their personal page. They keep their personal and their business separate. and it works for them. So you don't necessarily have to cross post, but if you do, make sure that you think about what message are you trying to share and how are you going about sharing it. So
just like that, I mean, we know a number of business owners that have Facebook business pages, and their Facebook profile for themselves is marked as private, and you can't see it now. You can go in and see my profile.
Mine too. I made mine public in January.
Kim's is now public also, so you can go in there. But being aware that what's on the personal page is their personal life stuff, and what's on the business page is business. But here's the deal, though. Nowadays, a customer that doesn't know you is not going to be able to tell the difference.
Nowadays, it's blending. Nowadays, it's like all blending in together. Especially if you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur, if people are putting in reality, a lot of people are like, "Oh, business should be separate than personal," and this is not social media. It's just life in general. I am my business, and my business is me. It just is what it is. Like, you're not like, if you do business with us, you're not going to get a different version of Kim and Conor on a Saturday night eating steaks, right? It's going to be the same version. He will be drinking whiskey, but he already drinks whiskey anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So hopefully all of that stuff helped with you guys. Earlier this week, we did make an announcement that we're stepping forward and we're not being silent anymore. What that means in general is we are looking to deliver content and materials to you guys on running your business, running your marketing team, and how to be able to do it efficiently. The thing is we have an awesome amount of knowledge in both of our brains, and we've been doing this gig for 8 years, not a side gig, by the way, for Conor's post earlier.
I had a post earlier today, and it's a rant about side gigs.
But we've been able to do this for 8 years, and the thing is we have a lot of knowledge. We just don't necessarily know exactly what people are looking for today or what they're needing assistance with unless they personally reach out to us. So what we're asking is, if there's specific questions, if there's information that you're looking to learn about that you wish that you had, if there's something in the SEO process that you're just not getting, or maybe you need some guidance on what directions to go, please send an email to Kimberly@bigredseo.com and let us know what you need. We're looking to step forward. It's one of the things that we're both super passionate about. Again, we need to get feedback to be able to know what to bring to you guys and how to bring it back. And if it's a subject we don't cover, we're not opposed to talking about it. We just may not get in the weeds deep about it, right? Like,
I will get in the weeds deep about it now. If it comes to AI and the voice search stuff, Ashley, I'm sorry, you're on your own. I'm not digging into
I have a totally different voice thing. You have like Google, and I have Bixby because I'm on Verizon, so I don't even know what you guys are talking. Yeah, it's totally different. Anyway, it's a different name, different version, but there's multiples of them, so you just kind of go with it. Well, either way, thank you so much for joining us live or on the replay. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us at bigredseo.com, Kim and Conor, and we will see you next Friday at 2:30
Central Time.
Central Time.
Central Daylight Time.
Central Daylight Time. All right. Have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. And then